have Sheikh McArthy here with us. He's a presenter for Peace TV and Huda TV, and he's also an instructor for Al-Kawthar Institute. He was born and raised in the US. He has started his quest to seek knowledge after he became a Muslim in 1994. He has spent 10 years, mashallah, in Medina studying under the scholars and as a student in the Islamic University of Medina. He has graduated from the Arabic Institute and then from the Faculty of Dawah and Usul ad-Din Islamic University of Medina. He is also a co-founder and the principal of Al-Manar Tarbiyah Weekend School in Dubai. He has delivered workshops and lectured at numerous international events. He's certainly an inspiration for all of us, especially as new Muslims. We would have a lot of things to relate to and learn from his life, inshallah. May Allah bless him for his sparing his valuable time with us and bless this event and our effort and intention of seeking knowledge about his deen. Ameen. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Over to you, Sheikh.
Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. I wasn't aware I would be speaking today. I just found out as I came in now. Alhamdulillah. But I will start with an interesting story similar to Sister Iman's story, where she came as a Jehovah's Witness, fighting with the brothers, and then ended up accepting Islam. And I remember a similar story to a sister who I met in Sudan. She is a white American from Alabama. Any of you heard of Alabama before? This is our really, country, redneck, type, the country people, in America, as we say. And they're also from an area known as the Bible Belt type area where they're really into religion. So she met a Sudanese brother who was living there in the same state in Alabama, and they were interested in one another, and they decided they were going to get married because she was a practicing Christian. She was serious about her Christianity, and she wasn't looking to be involved in things before she was married. And he also was a Muslim and wasn't looking to be involved in these type of things before he before he was married as well. So he said that, she said, but you need to become a Christian. And then he said, no, then you need to become a Muslim if it's like that. So they differed on this issue. Can she stay a Christian, or can he stay there? Or does one of them have to change? So she started to research into Islam in order to convince him that Islam was wrong and he would enter into Christianity. And then when she started to read about Islam, she started to read more and more. She said, I have to find something. She said, wow. She said, this is good. I like this religion. She said, actually, it's better than what we have in Christianity. So she ended up accepting Islam, alhamdulillah. And now she's living with her husband in Sudan. She's teaching, do some things there, mashallah. And a similar story to the story of Sheikh Yusuf Estes, who visited you here, and a lot of you know him. How he accepted Islam also was a very similar way, because he had an Egyptian friend who he was trying to convince to enter into Christianity. So in order to do so, he said, I have to read about Islam in order to what? To show him that Islam is wrong and to convince him, so he enters into Christianity. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also opened his heart and he accepted Islam. So a lot of times you never know how you're going to accept Islam. And a lot of people who accepted Islam, they look at Islam and think, we're trying to find the faults in Islam. And in several stories that we know about brothers who have read the Quran looking for mistakes. And as they look for the mistakes, they find the nur, the light of the guidance of the Quran and of Islam, and they enter into Islam. And I remember recently a brother we have in Ireland who accepted Islam, and he said that he read all of the religious texts from all the different world religions, and he has 32, I believe, tattoos in a lot of different languages. He came to a lot of Asian countries. I'm sure he's probably been here before. And he gets all of these tattoos in different languages from around the world. There's a lot of Japanese things and a lot of religious symbols on his body. Okay? And when he read about these other religions, he read about them to show that they were false religions. And he read it, reading this. And he said, I read about all the religions, including his own religion, which was Christianity. And he found a lot of mistakes in the Bible and decided to what? To leave Christianity and to become an atheist. And he read about other religions and found nothing, he didn't like anything about any of them. So then he started to read about Islam. So he said, let me go to the Quran and read about the Quran. So he read the Quran, he's looking for mistakes, looking for faults. He read it from the beginning to the end, but he couldn't find anything he could hold firm to that this is a mistake. So he said, then the mistake has to be from me. I had to have what? Done something wrong. Maybe I didn't catch it, I have to read it again. So he said, I read it again and the same thing, I couldn't find any mistakes. But then he said, I made the common mistake of going to the Muslims to ask them about Islam. And then he said, I got very confused. And this is the problem we have, unfortunately, as an ummah today, as a nation. Because when people read about Islam, they say, mashallah, it's a beautiful religion. But when they see the Muslims and the actions of the Muslims, they say, oh. They say, what's in the books, if it was true, it would have benefited you guys, the Muslims. But it didn't benefit you. So there's a problem here. So this causes contradiction in the minds of the people. When they see the beauty of Islam, they say, mashallah, it's a beautiful religion. But they see the actions of some Muslims who make us look bad as a nation. So this is what we need to focus on as Muslims, as individuals, is to remind ourselves, especially when you're a minority, it's even more of a responsibility. People think it might be less of a responsibility when you're a minority. We say no. It becomes more of a responsibility because the people are looking at you. Say, oh, the Muslims do this. They're not going to say, Brother Ahmed or Sister Fatima, they did this. They're going to say the Muslims did this. This is what the Muslims do. So it's always important that we respect ourselves, we respect our religion, and we represent ourselves and represent our religion in a positive light all the time. So when people see Islam, they see the beauty of Islam in us and in our actions. So they say Islam is beautiful, and mashallah, and the Muslims are very beautiful people. When they see the effect that it has upon us, they're going to enter into Islam. Perhaps the biggest Muslim population in the world today, where is it? Indonesia. How did they become Muslim? Through the sword, right? Well, they say Islam spread through the sword, don't they? Is what they say. But we know it's not true. We're Muslims, we know it's not true. You can't force anybody to become Muslim. That's something that's up to them. How do they become Muslim? Through the businessmen, the traders who were going there and trading with them. They saw the effect Islam had because they knew them before and after. The same Arab guys who became Muslim, they knew them before they were Muslims, and they knew them when they accepted Islam. So they saw the change Islam had in them. And they were like, wow, what happened to you? Because they used to come and they would cheat them, right? Now all of a sudden, they're coming, they're being honest. He wants to sell some material. He said, look, it's good material, but it has something wrong with it here. You look at it. So like, you never would have told me that before. So why are you telling me now? They were shocked. I said, oh, because this is Islam. This is what Islam teaches us, is that whoever cheats us is not from us. It's the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ. Whoever cheats us is not from us. So we can't cheat as Muslims. We can't lie. We have to be honest. We're going to be held accountable for actions Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of judgment. We stand in front of Allah. They're like, oh, this is interesting. So all of them accepted Islam, entered Islam. Allah. This is the beauty of Islam when they see it in actions. And they were going to make money. Their main goal might not have been da'wah. But mashallah, may Allah reward those who gave them da'wah and they accepted Islam through them. So this is the point, is that we must think all the time as a community, as an ummah, that we are representing our deen. Especially during the days that we live in, when Islam is misrepresented in the media. Islam is misrepresented and the Muslims are misrepresented in the media. And now obviously with some of the groups that we see in the media these days, it's making Islam and the Muslims look even worse. So we thought it was bad enough what we had going on for the last 10 years, and now it's become, over the last few months, even worse. So we have to work even harder to represent Islam and to show Islam in a good way. And we have to remind ourselves that when we stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is going to ask us, what did you do for your deen? What did you do to spread the message of Islam? And everybody who is a non-Muslim, when they come, Yawm al-Qiyamah, they say, he didn't tell me about Islam, she didn't tell me. They were my neighbors, they didn't tell me about Islam. And when I heard about Islam, I didn't see Islam in their actions, so I thought Islam was a bad thing because of the actions of my neighbor. They're going to try to use you as an excuse Yawm al-Qiyamah to save themselves. Say, this is the guy. He made me think bad about the Muslims because of his action. He always lied to me. He always cheated. He always did this and that. They always harmed me. It's okay, sister. It's not bothering me. I have quite a few kids myself, mashallah, so I'm used to it. If my son was here, he'd be on top of the thing with me, mashallah, jumping off and coming back, mashallah. So the point is that we have to constantly hold ourselves to account and remind ourselves of this and our duty in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah knows best. Allahu a'lam wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Muhammad. If there's any questions, inshallah, we can answer some questions, inshallah ta'ala. Say it again, how they can be steadfast in what? Inshallah. It's a sensitive thing, but perhaps we're going to cover some of that maybe tonight in the lecture tonight. If you're going to come tonight, inshallah, so we'll leave that for then, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. No, but I mean, obviously, when it comes to the issue of one of the main issues, because the lecture tonight is what's holding you back, and obviously one of the main things that's holding us back as Muslims is the relations that we have as families, and we tend to sometimes do what the family wants from us more than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. And obviously this is the same excuse that Quraysh used to use for not accepting Islam in the beginning, for rejecting La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. When they rejected it, this was the main excuse they used. And all of those before them, this is what we found our forefathers. And so many people today, when we give da'wah, when we talk to people about Islam, they tell us the same thing. They say, Islam is a beautiful religion, but I'm from this religious background. I'm from this country. I'm from that, so I couldn't accept Islam. Okay? So this is what, and it's a misconception that a lot of people have, and they put it into action. But unfortunately, the Muslims also have it now. When it comes to act upon Islam, you see, yeah, we're Muslims, but our customs in Sri Lanka, for example, are this. Or our customs in Pakistan or in Morocco, wherever they're from, they'll say it's like this. So they'll say these are our customs. Okay, so yeah, but Islam is this, but we're like this because we're Egyptian or we're from Saudi or wherever you're from in the world. So this is what is one of the main reasons that Islam has become weak, and we have to remind ourselves that we're held accountable for our own actions, and we have to stand in front of Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah, and it's not going to help us. So we did it for your family. Allah's going to say, why didn't you do it for me? And then if you truly love Allah and truly love the Prophet ﷺ, it's going to show in your actions. It's not enough to say you love Allah and you love His Messenger ﷺ and it doesn't show in your actions. And you prefer to do that which is pleasing to the people, even though it's something that's disobedience and not pleasing to Allah and His Messenger ﷺ. So those are the key things, and you have to remind yourself you have to be brave and step up. Allah knows best. Any other questions? Even if the intention is good and the intention is not to do something bad, we should stay away from that, because what happens in these places from worshipping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a form of disobedience. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to stay away from such things. But that doesn't mean that you can't be polite. You have to understand. And no doubt it's going to be difficult in the beginning, is what you have to understand. This happened to all of us. But once they realize that this is who you are and this is what you stand for, most likely in the end they will respect you. It happened even my own family. I faced a lot of difficulties in the beginning, and they even some. In the beginning, I didn't face that many difficulties, but in the end, yes, I did, because they started to say certain things, and I wouldn't go. For example, I was going back to America, and I told them if there's going to be drinking and alcohol and things like this at the party, I said I'm not going to come. They were throwing a big celebration party for me. And my family, they're originally Irish, and Irish people, they tend to drink a little bit, or a little too much. They're famous for drinking. So I said, if they're going to be getting drunk and this, somebody says a joke about this, and I get offended, he gets offended, then you start fighting, because the Irish like to fight too. So I said, I don't want to be involved in anything like this. So I told them, I said, look, I said, I'm not going to come. They didn't like this in the beginning. But once they learned more about me and they understood I have certain stances, they started to respect these things. So no doubt, in the beginning it will be difficult. They say, no, it's okay, you're a Muslim, but I'm your mother. You're supposed to go with me to this temple or to the church or to wherever it is and support me as your parent. But so we say, no, we don't go to these places because we're forbidden as Muslims to go to these places because we only worship Allah as one. And we can't go where other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worship. So we just, you have to take a stance sometimes. It might be difficult in the beginning. Anybody starts to practice Islam, a sister when she becomes Muslim starts to wear hijab, it's difficult in the beginning, but alhamdulillah, after some time, you see it becomes normal, inshallah, and secondary, inshallah. They keep looking at you for the questions, by the way. So they're expecting you to answer the questions. Eh? The heat is on you, huh? Okay. Yes. Say it again. This is strange. In some countries we find that they look down upon reverts because in most countries they look high to the reverts. They have a lot of respect for the reverts. But you do have that sometimes, especially in the communities where you might have like the minority communities and they have something against the other communities. There might be issues between the communities. So when the people become Muslim, they kind of look down upon them. Because it's not because, so it is very difficult sometimes to deal with. And you'll find this in several countries, unfortunately. And even some people, both of them are born Muslims, they're from different backgrounds, they look down upon them. Obviously, this is something that is looked down upon in Islam. And in the Prophet ﷺ, he went against, he taught his companions about the issue of racism and staying away from racism. Told them that there's nobody who's better, an Arab or non-Arab, except through taqwa and through the fear of God. And also he told them that to leave the racism because it's muntin, it's something that's rotten. Something that's rotten, and he told them to leave it. So obviously we know that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. So what you have to do is you have to teach these people, remind them, not teach them because they know. If you see some things like this, that you remind them of the verses from the Quran, you remind them of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And if they don't accept it, then what else can you do? Because you have to talk to the person where the issue of the iman in the heart, you have to make that iman move and remind them. Because sometimes it could be something that's in the heart, it's built in the heart. Or he sees, for example, oh, this is one of those people from this community, and he's like this. But then you remind him, maybe that reminder could benefit him, and then it'll change their hearts, inshallah. So you just have to try, and the guidance obviously is in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you can't guide who you please. A presentation of? Okay. Okay, mashallah. Okay, mashallah. So you want me to give it to them?
Yes.
So I'll stand over here then, it's better, huh? So no hugs, huh? Brother, do hug. Actually, we have I was telling the brother that I think we need to change for people to become Muslim. For the brothers, I don't know how to do the sisters. I think the same thing for the sisters, but for the brothers, you see, when somebody becomes Muslim and he does shahada in the masjid, what does everybody do? What is it? Takbir! Allah Akbar! So, Allah Akbar, if he's watching the media, when does he hear Allah Akbar all the time? Something good is about to happen or something bad? Something bad. So he says the shahada, he's nervous in front of all these people. So Allah Akbar! Oh, what's about to happen? He said, I see this on the news, it's not a good thing. Huh? And then, all these men in the masjid, 1,000 men, all of them hugging, brother. All these guys hugging me, and mashallah. He doesn't realize the brotherhood at this stage, it's too early for him. Maybe the sisters are different, because you guys are so different.
Actually, which
Yeah? Okay. You have two. Two and one, huh? It's good. If she asked me to pronounce, I would have trouble pronouncing it. We have two of those. Congratulations.
Sister Raya Shapova. She has done wonderful job lately because it was difficult for her to come, but she was one of the students who are very regular. So I'm very happy. She's from Ukraine.
Congratulations. You didn't say anything. I said maybe she's